Welcome back to A Fresh Story, the podcast where we have conversations about brave decisions to start over again. I'm Olivia.
And I'm Jenny, and we're so glad you're here today. Well, hello there, Sistifer.
Hello, Sistifer. Sounds like Lucifer.
Sistifer Robin, like Christopher Robin.
You know what? Speaking of Christopher Robin.
Yeah, speaking of Christopher Robin.
Wyatt went to school today.
Oh, I didn't know where this was going.
A red long sleeve shirt and mustard yellow pants, and it took everything in me to not just tell him he looked like Winnie the Pooh.
He would have been very angry with you.
He would have been very angry with me.
Wyatt told us the story the other day that he made a face, I guess like at the bus line or something to get on the bus. So Wyatt's in first grade, and that he made a face and it made two girls scream, and Weston said two sixth grade girls. So Wyatt, who's 6, made two 12-year-olds scream, and the face was not obviously scary. It was just completely deranged. It was really funny.
Wyatt is gonna eventually be on Saturday Night Live. He is the funniest person we've ever met.
The thing about being a kid, and I used to say this when I taught nursery school, is you are who you are when you start out. And we talk about this on the episode. Like, Donna talks about the fact that she has a great story, and actually she tells it on TikTok. She goes more into depth on that story. I don't know if you saw, Olivia. She shows video and stuff about dodging a cult as a kid and how she just was who she was, and she wasn't going to get involved in a cult. And we talk a lot in that episode about what you were doing as a kid, and then did you come back to it as an adult? And what were we doing as kids, Olivia? What were we playing? What was our pretend play?
Entrepreneur.
Olivia had kids. I babysat them. That was always our games, and we were always running companies together. Whether it was
real estate broker,
real estate. Our grandmother used to go around and take brochures from travel agents, and then she would build us like little menus, places to put our little brochures, and she would get us phones and pads of paper.
We had our grandmother had antique school desks from the I don't even know when, the 1950s. And we put them back to back in her playroom, and we each had a rotary phone on each one, and she would collect from travel agents and from real estate brokers and from restaurants, and we would do events, and we would do
she would go to restaurants and steal like the little menu holders, and then we would write menus, and we would make food out of Sculpey, and she really facilitated so much creative play. But we always came up with
business owners
together.
Business owners together.
And,
so we talk about this with Donna. So Donna Bowling is an amazing person, and this podcast is here because of Donna, because she's the one that told us to do a podcast, and we connected with Donna and months ago. And we've just fallen in love with her. She is a bright light of a person. she is one of those people we love because she loves to celebrate other people and lift them up. And we're just
joy. She's all about finding joy every day.
And like at the end of the episode, she talks about her not guilty, but her pleasure every day that she gets, which is so little, but she is so obsessed with it, and it's so beautiful to hear her talk about this. And she is an amazing storyteller.
Spitfire is the word I use for Donna.
We cannot wait to see what this woman does in her life, because she is at the beginning of her journey here. So you're going to enjoy this episode. So have fun with Donna, and please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to A Fresh Story so that we can keep telling fresh start stories. Donna Bowling is a former award-winning casting director turned brand strategist and video coach. She helps small business owners and entrepreneurs get comfortable and confident on camera to create video content that increases visibility, all while having fun. And I can attest to that. Donna lives in Los Angeles with her husband, a director of photography, and her 2 adorable sons. She also hosts two podcasts now, Show Up on Video and A Daily Dose of Donna. And Donna and I connected a while back on Twitter. Then you came to one of my events, like the Pop Chat at night, and we just fell in love with you. And, you are so wise and have so many amazing things about pop culture and content and showing up, and so empowering. So we're thrilled to have you here today.
Oh my God. I'm thrilled to be here. I feel like I just got chosen. I'm the lucky one. I'm the lucky one.
We were so excited. I discovered you individually on TikTok, and so it came up one night, and Olivia was like, "Oh, Donna Bowling, we can talk to her about some video stuff." And I was like, "You know her? Like, you're a celebrity to me." So it was so exciting. Like I said on our stories, I was like, "You're so busy, and you're doing so much in the best way, and I'm sure everybody wants a piece of you." So we were like, "Do you want to be on our podcast?" It's really just an excuse to talk to you for an hour and to like have you sit in a chair for an hour and talk to us. So we're so excited about that. I also wanted to say, you posted the other day about your parents spelling your name. The way that they spell it. So Donna's name is spelled D-A-N-A.
Donna spelled Dana.
Donna spelled Dana. And I'm a Genevieve, right? So it's like a little bit complicated. And I just want to say, like, I get it and I hear it and I feel it. And like, it's always the people with simple names that name their children these complicated things.
I mean, listen, my parents are Israeli, right? So I was born here in Los Angeles at Cedars-Sinai, like the famous Cedars-Sinai hospital that every celebrity has their kids at. But my parents, like, for whatever reason, were like, she's obviously going to be Dana, right? Dana, D-A-N-A. And if you go to Israel, I mean, we're all Jews here. If you go to Israel and you meet Donnas, for the most part, they're D-A-N-A. And I know a lot of people that are like D-A-N-N-A, like a little bit in that in the Israeli kind of world. And the problem was with it is that, you know, it's obviously hard for people to understand or remember, even people that know me well, because we're visual as human beings, right? We're visual. And so when I used to be a casting director, what the process of casting is, you put out a breakdown, a character breakdown. So just say we were looking for the lead role of the show. And on the breakdown that the agents get, at first it used to be like physical and then it was electronic. On the top, it would say casting director and your name. Or casting associate, casting assistant. So from the very beginning, people would call and pitch their clients, you know, the talent agents would call and pitch. Hi, is Dana there? Hi, I'm looking for Dana. And I was like, Robert, I spoke to you yesterday. It's Donna.
The same one.
Like, and it was killing me.
Yeah.
But well, and you're definitely not a D-O-N-N-A. Like you're not a Donna in that spelling. You're your own
I'm
thing.
Donna.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, anyway. Most Donnas, every time someone's like, if I meet someone in real life without looking at the spelling of my name and I say I'm Donna, they're like, oh my God, that's my aunt's name. Or that's my grandma's name. Like it's always an aunt, grandma, or teacher.
Yeah.
Yes. It's never like, oh my God, that's the hot girl in the class, right?
You're the new, you know what? You're the new generation of Donnas is what you are.
I mean, maybe you're listening to this.
Your memoir needs to be called Donna named Donna. What did you say?
Donna spelled Dana.
Donna, right. Thank you.
Donna spelled Dana.
That's your memoir title. Yes.
Dana Donna.
Well,
when I was a kid, I wanted to have it's not Dana Donna, but I wanted to have a talk show called Donna Diamond. I decided that was my stage name. Yeah. And I had a whole song and everything. You want to hear it?
Yes,
of course.
Let's go.
And we're back with Good Morning, Donna and Donna Diamond.
I love it so much.
And why are you not doing this?
Yeah, why are you not doing that? I feel like Lance
I don't know. I really feel like, I mean, maybe my husband would be like, my last name's Bowling. Like, why can't we be back with Donna Bowling? You know, I found a tape and it's so funny, like a cassette tape. So I'm 41. So I was born in 1981. This tape's sad. It was in one of those memory boxes, you know, that your mom has or whatever. And it says Donna in 1991. And so I put it in. We have like one of those old school boom boxes that is like MP3s now.
Yeah.
But you put it in and like, I actually have to play this at some point for TikTok or whatever, because it is crazy. And number one, I am full on talking to myself like it's me on a podcast. I'm having a full conversation with myself, walking around the house, walking around the neighborhood. Yeah. I'm talking about my observations about life.
Not only is it a podcast, but it's your stories that you do every day, your Instagram stories.
It's really crazy. It's like I knew I was meant to be this person. And this is the funniest thing. And then I promise I'll let you guys host this podcast again.
It's okay.
But we love it.
There was a documentary a couple years back on Netflix. I don't know if you guys are into like cult documentaries or like any of those kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Have you heard of the documentary Holy Hell? It was a Netflix.
Familiar. Keep talking.
Yeah.
Okay. It was a Netflix documentary. I think it was very, very successful. It was like 3 or 4 years ago. And it was about this like yoga, Buddhist kind of ballet dancer guy that all these people became obsessed with and followed him from Los Angeles to Texas and then to Hawaii. And he was God knows what. Like he was obviously troubled. I almost became part of the cult because my best friends across the street became part of the cult. And in the tape, I said, they are weird. I was like, these people are weird. It feels like they're all trying to do just what this guy's doing. I don't want to be a part of that. I was 10 and I walked away from a cult.
We are
I'm
proud
not
of
surprised.
you.
You are an individual. You are such an individual, and there's like nobody else out there like you. So that doesn't surprise me at all.
I was like, you're telling me what to do. Bye.
No,
seriously, that would not work, right? I love all of that. I think it's so funny the way that we are. Olivia and I were definitely doing that as kids too, doing TV shows between the two of us and like trying to host them.
We have theme songs.
We do.
I love it.
It's you are who you are. Like know, with your sons, they are who they are.
I always ask,
details will change, but
yeah. And I ask clients, a lot of my clients were like, I just don't know. Like, what is the thing? What is the thing that I have to go into? I'm like, let's go to you at 7. Like, try to really remember you or go through pictures. Remember what you were doing for fun.
I love that. That's
at 7 years old. Like, what were you guys doing at 7?
Hosting
we were
shows,
setting up businesses, pretend businesses, and pretending to be travel agents and hosting shows. And
yeah.
Oh my God. I never even thought about that. My mom had like a message book because she was an esthetician, and my sister and I would do fake phone calls and like take down appointments. Like I was a secretary for my business.
We would do all of that. My grandmother really fed it. She would get us like everything that we needed for a restaurant. She would like steal things from restaurants, like little
like
menu holders,
like
the menu holders, ketchup things like that. Or she would go to a travel agent and like pick up brochures, and we would do. We each have
our little rotary phones.
We would pretend to be in business together.
I mean, I'm telling you, and look what happened, you guys.
Yeah, it's so true.
Go back to who you were at 7.
I think that is great advice.
Great advice.
Well, so let's start there. Why don't you take us back to the beginning of your Fresh Starts journey?
Yeah. So it's interesting. I mean, Fresh Starts is such a great business, and it's such a great podcast because who hasn't had some sort of fresh start, whether it is like a personal relationship or a move or a, job, career change, like whatever it is.
Yeah.
I was the queen of, reinventing myself at some point. Like if I had to think of one thing that really made my fresh start, it was when I left what was my former world, which was casting and being in the entertainment industry, which just sounds like porn, but it wasn't. I was like legit in the entertainment industry, and leaving something that, for all intents and purposes and on paper, people were just thinking it was the coolest job. So just to back up, I'm born and raised here in Los Angeles, which there's like 6 of us. And when my dad was an OBGYN. So growing up, he was delivering all the celebrity kids, right?
Okay.
At Cedars-Sinai, at that same
Jean
hospital.
Smart's kid, you said.
Jean Smart's kid, Kate Hudson. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, who else? Like so many different celebrities' kids. My brain isn't working at its best. But in the 80s, between 1980 to 1995, he was like the one, right? So I grew up not in the entertainment industry, but I grew up kind of like adjacent because of that. That's a whole other story. I didn't have a very good relationship with my dad. But when I was growing up here in Los Angeles, I was obsessed with the behind the scenes of TV. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I'll never forget when I was in 7th grade for my birthday, all I wanted to do was go and see a Full House taping. Like my mom was like, let's have a party. And I was like, no, please take me, just spend one Friday night with me at Full House. Like that's all I wanted to do.
Did you get to do that?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I was obsessed.
And I remember so jealous.
I remember the episode perfectly. It was like when they were a little bit older and like Becky and Jesse were living together and they had their like radio show or they had something. I forget whatever. Okay. Yeah. And the twins were like a little bit older, the boys.
Okay.
Yeah. But I remember what I was into wasn't like the actual show. Right, I wanted to see what was happening between takes.
Yeah.
And like, I was really interested in watching like who was on the set and like what was, and seeing the writers kind of like converge and then taking it. And it's so funny because what ended up happening was I worked with so many of those people a few years later, but the same thing happened. Like I went to the set of Designing Women with my dad. And I remember and I was really young on that. I was like 8 years old. I don't know what my dad was thinking taking me, but I was like, this is cool. Like I was like Jean Smart. And then, and like Beverly Hills 90210, they would be filming on Melrose, which is right by where I lived at the time, like in West Hollywood. And I saw Kelly Taylor's red convertible pull up and I was like, Mom, get out of the And she was like, no. And I guess back in the day, she was like, okay, just dropped off a 10-year-old on the side of the road for an hour.
Oh my
But this
gosh.
was my life, like obsessed. So when I graduated college, long story short, I got an internship working in casting. And the first show that we worked on was That's So Raven. So the original That's So Raven on Disney Channel with Raven Simone. Now, this was the coolest thing about it, is that it was called Hollywood Center Studios. They renamed it since then, but it was smack in the middle of Hollywood. And the way it worked was the set was downstairs and our office was on the third floor, right upstairs. So it was so all inclusive. And it was exactly, it was like I was living my dream. I was auditioning actors, which I thought was so cool to kind of see that process. And then I was able to go down a set and kind of see how it worked. I was there for the run throughs. I was there for the live tapings. I was there for the entire experience. And that was amazing, right? It was amazing. And then I, slowly started working for other business or other bosses, other shows. I worked on a ton of different shows. I worked on Reba. I worked on so many shows for the WB at the time. I don't even know if you guys remember the WB.
Yeah, we love the W. Dawson's Creek.
Yeah, that was exactly. I worked with Kevin Williamson from Dawson's Creek, like so many different people and so many different shows. And then I had my own show when I was 26 years old. That was our first. I partnered up with my friend Brandy, and we cast Sweet Life on Deck, which was the Dylan and Cole Sprouse show.
Yeah.
And I was 26, and we won an award, best casting for a children's series. I was like, by all intents and purposes, like, she's gonna go to the moon. And meanwhile, I don't know if I can curse.
Curse.
I was fucking miserable. Miserable. Now,
isn't that always the way? Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And like, I try to imagine, what do you think it was? Because, that was also a challenging time in life when you're in your 20s and like early 30s and anxiety and stress. But I remember I married my husband, and my husband is a DP and a camera operator on a bunch of shows. And he was not working at the time because that's the way this business is. Yeah. And he was like painting our backyard fence. We had just bought a house. It was 2011. I didn't even have my first kid yet. And I came home. So I'm 30, right? And I came home after one of those grueling days where I just felt so pointless and like wasted, right? And I came home and I see him painting, la, 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 la. And I'm like, Lance, I have a question. Do you like your job? Do you like work? And he's like, fucking love what I do. Yeah. And I could see it in his eyes. Like he really lit up. And I was like, maybe something's wrong with me, because I actually really don't love it. But then it's one of those things. It's like when you don't want to get out of a marriage or a relationship because you're scared. You're like, what else? Like what? Maybe this is the best it's going to be. And maybe something's wrong with me.
Right. And what a weird place to be at mentally, to be like, again, when we've talked to a few people on the podcast like this, right? Where you're like at the top of your career in this amazing place. You've always, since you were a child, wanted to be there. And mentally, you are in the worst place. Like you hate it. Something's not clicking. So
what do you think it was?
So I think I've come down to like a couple ideas. I think part of it is that I knew I wasn't being utilized as creatively as I could. Like I'm a super creative person, as you can see with my content. Like I'm constantly wanting to create. I want to be in charge. I want to have like a vision. I want to be able to do as I please. And when you're in casting, even though I had my own business, my maiden name was Gurgly. So we were Bryce Gurgly Casting because my partner was Brandy Bryce. Even though you're your own business, you absolutely have bosses, right? Like there's 10,000 people that you have to report to.
Right.
And I always felt like my ideas didn't mean as much. My vision wasn't taken as seriously as someone else above me. Like I felt kind of like a middleman. And I thought to myself, you know what else? Here's another thing. I would look at casting directors, bless their hearts. Some of them are friends of mine that are 50, 60. They've been doing this for their entire lives. And some of them are incredibly successful. They're casting shows like The White Lotus and these huge shows. But most are struggling every year, waiting for the phone to ring, trying to network, trying to get that job. And then like just skirting by financially and also pretty freaking miserable.
Yeah.
Like miserable, like unhappy people. I never really saw, when you jump into a career, I think you're supposed to look at like the people that have been doing this and have an idol to like look forward to become like.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't see myself becoming that.
Can you talk for a little bit about what does that mean to be a casting agent, casting director for the
Director,
little
yeah.
Hollywood break here for everybody? Like, because I don't even know. You're talking about it, and I think I know what it is, but also
Yeah.
I'm not really sure.
So just to, break it down as simple as possible. So it's a casting director, because if you
Okay.
say casting agent, people get very bent out of shape in that industry, because agents make a commission and casting directors make just a salary, no matter how successful anyone gets. And that was also part of the frustration. So a casting director essentially takes a script. So whether it's a pilot, first episode, and that's usually the majority of the casting, because you
Right.
always have to find the series regulars.
Right.
Like, just imagine Friends, right? Like looking for Ross and
Right.
Chandler. And then if you're working on a TV show, it's all the subsequent episodes. It's the guest stars, the coffee shop guy,
Right.
Yeah.
the girlfriend, whatever. So you take the script, and then of course in movies, and there's all kinds of ways that this works, but you get a script and you break it down. You have a character breakdown that gets digitally sent out on a website to every single agent and manager in the regions that you're looking for. They submit online. And all of a sudden you have a plethora. It used to be like hard copy, like folders,
Right.
like where we would go like this with pictures, but now it's all digital. Sorry, I keep hitting my mic. Digital.
Can't hear it.
And you go through headshots, and then you go through their resumes, and you click like who you want to see. So now you're bringing in people. Technically, you're weeding down from thousands to hundreds to, the top
Right.
10. You bring them to the producers, and then that person gets picked. You do their deal, you negotiate their deal, you make sure that they have all the information where they need to go, whatever. And then this is, I think, what it also came down to. Once they get that job and they do the job, you are long forgotten, and you've done all the work to make their lives come true, right? Like make their
Right.
dreams come true.
Right.
And I think that's it's like kind of funny to think about, but my ego was like, WTF? Like, I just killed myself. I didn't eat dinner for 8 weeks.
And I don't even know if it's an ego thing. I think it's like a kindness thing too. Like, I think it goes back to respect, right? Like, you are an incredibly kind and respectful person who very much, and I know from working with you and watching you, you believe a rising tide, right? It lifts all ships. And so I would imagine as a young person, you're like, I just got you to where you're supposed to be going, and the door's shut, and I'm standing there,
Right.
and you're like, and that's really hard to do over and over again, because it makes it, I would imagine, feel like what's the point of this? Like, I'm helping all these people and I'm not getting where I really want to be going in my life.
Yeah, it feels like you're kind of living everyone else, like you're creating everyone else's dreams around you, and you're not creating your own. And and I knew that wasn't my path. Like, I just knew it. When we talk about who we were at 7, like, there was no way that 7-year-old would have been happy being like a forgotten soul who, had something to do with the creation of someone's career.
No.
Right.
No,
That wasn't me.
No, and for anybody listening, I want to just paint a picture for a second. Donna is literally a ray of sunshine. She has gold sparkles that follow her where she goes.
Yeah.
I mean, she really is. Like, she,
ball of energy, like
energy, but also like a beautiful energy. You have literally, like, it's like your aura is just golden, and you have this amazing way about you that brings people in and teaches them and makes everybody feel welcome. And so I would imagine you were at this place. You were like, now, where did you meet your husband?
You guys are making me actually like get emotional. I swear to God, I'm not joking. Just talking about that, like saying that right now. And maybe it's because I'm lacking sleep. But what's so crazy is, like, I was telling you before we started recording that last night I had my friends come over, and we were watching 16-year-old version of me.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even look at myself. I was so ashamed of how I felt at that time. Like, I was always so, even though I was like outwardly extroverted, internally, I was like, I had zero confidence, right? Like, I felt horrible about who I was. And I was like doing all the wrong things to get attention, So when you guys say that, and I've never felt more at ease at who I am now, like, it's so cool to hear that. Thank you.
You can tell. You can absolutely tell you're in alignment with exactly who you are. So I wanted to know, where did you meet Lance? Because then, you were on screen every single day doing your Donna show, but he doesn't seem to be as like forward facing, yet he's in the industry. So
behind the camera. Director of photography.
He's behind the camera. So where did you guys meet?
So Lance, by the way, is like secretly wants to be an influencer. I'm convinced, and like is dying. Like I feel like whenever I'm doing a story, he's like, where's the camera? Like he's dying to be in there, but no, he's not. He's not good on like he doesn't do face to camera stories, but he should. I mean, he's a good looking guy. He's a personable guy, but Dylan's my son. That's weird. Lance and I met at a bar. Okay. We met at a bar when I had just finished working. It was a Friday after work. I just left the studio and my friend was having like a Hollywood drinks thing. And I went and I met him and he wasn't my type, you guys, by any means. Like I was convinced I was going to end up with a Jewish attorney. I was like,
you're a girl from LA. Yeah.
I was on J-Date.
No, I mean, I was just
who wasn't?
We were all on J-Date. You mean you grew up in LA? Like that was like the thing, right. You know, blonde girl from LA. Like, yeah, Jewish attorney, sure.
And all I wanted, I really thought, because I was in a 5-year relationship before Lance, and and he was a very he was as goy as you can get. I mean, no offense, but like he was so not Jewish. And I was convinced that I was like, this is my in. Like now I'm gonna find my Jewish guy, and like we're gonna be so. And I would go on these J-Dates with these guys that I just never felt any connection to, any chemistry to. Like they were on paper perfect. Like my mom would have loved them. And then I met Lance. And of course I was like, ooh, like he's got tattoos. Like, hello. And whatever. We started to really, really get along immediately. And there was a lot of chemistry, but I fought it. I fought it because I was like, he is not, and Lance knows this story, so he would not be ashamed to talk about it. Lance, and I am not in any way, like I know I'm an LA girl and this and this. I always worked hard for what I have. Like always hard worker. My dad was very successful, gave us shit. Okay. So like I never had money growing up. We lived in a really, really falling apart house since I was a kid. My mom met a man when she was older. And then like when we were like 10 or whatever, and his business was also not anywhere, but he became successful through their relationship. So as we got older, we started to have more family money.
Is he a lot of people? Do we like the stepdad?
Yeah, they're still together. Okay. Since I was like 6 years old, they started dating and they got married when I was 12.
That's like our story too. But they never got married. Our parents never got married. Yeah, but he's been our stepdad since I was 7.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And he's a great guy, and always he's more of a dad than my dad has ever been. But I really like never came from money, right? So people, I just want to say that because I don't want people to think, oh, she judged Lance for that. But I was at this point, I was 27 years old, and I was like, if I get in a relationship with someone, I do have some desire for them to be like financially independent and like, whatever. So I meet Lance, and he's got the tattoos, and he at the time was smoking cigarettes, and he was like not like on paper at all, right? Then I find out that he has no money. And when I tell you $100 in his pocket, like that's it. Like he comes from the most insane family stories like you've ever heard, like stuff that you read horror books about, like just awful. And when he was 27, or he was 29 when I met him, when he was like 26, 27, he was in sales. He was selling like for a gate company, moved out to Los Angeles with a girlfriend who wanted to be an actress. They broke up, and he said, this is my time. So he started saying like, I want to start working in camera. And he got a job as a PA on The Bachelor. So PAs make no money, like $100 a day. Yeah. And so he was working his ass off, making no money. And he broke up with me when we first started dating. He said, I can't have a girlfriend because I can't afford you. I can't afford to take you out to dinners. Like I can't be a good boyfriend. And I really, my mom, bless her heart. I had a conversation with my mom who, met her husband when he was also, I think he was like $50,000 in debt when she met him. And he was a 40-some-year-old man, which is so crazy. That's like where I am right now.
Oh my God. So old at the time.
He was so old. And now I'm him. And I'm not $50,000 in debt. But she told me, she goes, Donna, because I would go on these J-Dates with these guys, and I'll never forget, there's a restaurant nearby, Casa Vega, and I was with this guy, Alex, who was so cute. And we ordered, but like I wasn't into him, but he was just like so cute and so perfect and like such a good Jew. And we ordered our tacos, and Lance texts me, and I look, and he goes, what are you doing tonight? And I said, nothing. You want to come over in an hour? And he said, yeah. And I look at Alex and I'm like, my stomach hurts. Like, can we get the food to go? And I gave Lance his tacos. So basically,
I love that.
my
That's
mom
not
said
a,
to,
yeah.
Yeah,
Not a
your mom-
euphemism, I was going to say. Sounds like
no,
a
oh my God, he got tacos. But that's what she said. But he said, my mom always said, you're never going to be able to push these feelings aside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you need to do, because I told her, I was like, I can't get him out of my head.
Yeah.
And she said, you need to just go through the experience. And if it's meant to be, it will work out. And if it's not, at least you'll at that point be like, I tried it. It's done.
Yeah.
Let me now move on. Because how many
Right.
times have we tried to like move on from things, but we're not actually ready to move on
Well,
from
also
them?
like money, as per evidence of your stepdad and Lance, money comes and goes. But the way somebody makes you feel, that is something that does not easily change. Like money comes and goes. And I've been with people when they had no money, and then when they had a lot of money, you know what? It didn't change the way they treated me at all. So
Exactly.
it comes and goes. You cannot, I am a believer in like love. You cannot make that decision based on that. And you stayed with him. I was going to say too, the interesting thing about working in that industry, and I worked in events for a long time, and I don't think we talk about this as a culture enough, is how many people work on contract and how many people are working and then they're not working and then they're waiting for the next job. And you can't even have a website because it's not about that. It's about the word of mouth. And does somebody like working with you? And where's the next job coming from? And where do I have to fly off to? This industry, Hollywood events, like, is filled with people. And unless you're in it, you have no idea that like all these people behind the scenes are making it happen, and then going home and not knowing when the next job's going to come up.
So this was like a big struggle at the beginning. And by the way, another thing about the way he made me feel, yes, that was important for sure. And I couldn't avoid that. But it was also that I saw the potential. And I think that this is a very important thing, because I was with a guy before for 5 years who had a great job in producing, right? He had a great job, solid job, and he had no drive.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't do that again. I can't do the guy that the second he gets off work, he's like, ugh.
Right.
Like,
No.
I want to see someone that is like in a hustle. And sure enough, I, when I found Lance and started dating him, I was like, I see it. There's something about him. Like he's going to make it happen.
The fact that he was willing to work as a PA for $100 a day tells you so much.
At 27, 28 years
right,
old.
Exactly.
Yeah. So sure enough, it was definitely tough those first few years, man. And still today, even though it's a different kind of tough, but because our lifestyle is so much more expensive. Right. So of course, everything is relative, but it's so cyclical, his business. It's seasonal. There's times where he's gone in Mexico for a year and a half, a month and a half, shooting Love is Blind. And then he's shooting, or A Perfect Match, this new show that is coming out. He's shooting.
Oh, that's the new Netflix one.
Yeah. He did that last year in Panama. Yeah. And he ruined an episode of Love is Blind for me, because I was watching, I don't know if you guys watched Love is Blind.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
But I was watching it like months ago.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, that's, I forget what his name is. The guy with the flat top hair.
Oh,
the dude.
Yeah. I can't remember his name. He was with the really pretty girl, Nancy. Yeah. He doesn't deserve a name.
I can't remember his name either. But anyway, he was like, that's da-da-da. I saw him on Perfect Match. I'm like, I'm sorry.
Now I know he's not with Nancy.
Pissed. But so he'll be gone for, and he says Bachelor in Paradise every year.
Right.
He works all these big shows. But also in addition, and this is the difference between Lance and just another guy that is a camera operator. He had downtime between jobs, and we had a baby at home, or 2 babies at the time. And I looked at him and I was like, we can't just like have downtime anymore. We got to constantly be hustling. And he decided that he was going to buy a camera and start renting it out. And you take one camera, and these, not like a cheap, like a nice $10,000 camera. Right. And he started to do it. The first time he did it, he got his first rental. It was Christmas time, 2013. We had a 1-year-old. We had no money. Okay. Christmas time. And he rented it out for 12 days. And this was going to be like $5,000. Like we were like, oh, this is huge. Like from a camera. Amazing. The guy stole his camera.
Yeah.
Stole his camera. Never to be found again. We had Lance didn't have all the systems with the insurance in place. Like it was fraud. It killed us, right? Killed us. Lance decided, I'm not going to let that take me down. We're going to go again. We're going to try this again.
Wow.
Meanwhile, that was 2013, 2014. Now we're in 2022. Lance has a huge rental rental studio, rental house in Burbank, California called F22. It is massive in a huge location, and they just built a stage now. So they have people shooting on their stage, and they're renting out a stage in between all the so I saw it. I saw the potential. I knew it.
Well, he matched your energy, right? Like you have a lot of like really motivating energy, and you need somebody that's going to match that, because otherwise you're dragging someone through life.
So you left casting, and then what did you do? Because I want to talk about your journey into what you do now.
Yeah. Forget it. This is about me.
I mean, it's
typical
we can talk for hours. We can talk for hours.
Typical Lance gets himself invested.
He does want to be front stage.
I do. He can come on the show anytime.
Yeah.
I mean, can we tag him below?
Yeah.
Okay. So I panicked in casting because we were in between shows, and there's something called pilot season, which is a typical time around January through March, April, where everything and anything starts to cast. Now, things are a little different now because there's like Netflix, Hulu, all these other streaming platforms. At the time, it was just the big networks, right? ABC, MTV, ABC, CBS, Fox, WB or the CW. Is the CW still a thing?
I don't know.
Think so. No, I feel like it's not.
Idea.
Yeah, no.
I haven't thought about that. Okay, so
we'll do some research.
So it was like it's a very busy time, and our career was just taking off. My partner and I, like, we were finally moving out of that Disney and Nickelodeon and kids space, and moving into like we were getting meetings with Fox and ABC and like all these big ones. And we had this meeting with Fox, and I remember like getting this meeting. We got the call, like, we want you to meet on this project, and it's with these two producers. I'm not going to name their names, but they're huge producers. And we sit down, we get the script. The way that they do it is they send you a script, and you have to break down the like the lists. You come up with good lists for each of the characters. And then you give them your list, and then you kind of try to sell yourself, get the job.
Right.
We were good at this. We were going to get this job, right? Like we were too fun, young, fresh, whatever.
Yeah.
We sit down in the meeting, and we start talking about the project. And the guys look at us, and they're like, what script are you guys talking about? And we said, whatever it was. Oh, yeah, that's our other show, but you guys aren't meeting on that one. You guys are meeting on, and they named another show that they were producing at the same time. Now, this was not our fault. This was a Fox fault, right? Fox had sent us the wrong script.
Oh my God.
We put all this work, all this energy, but then we were left freaking like, I mean, have you ever been in those situations? Like a dog ate my homework. Like, I don't have or I'm at school with no clothes on.
Horrifying.
Horrifying. And I was like, and I struggled with anxiety. Like, I was starting to get a panic attack. How do I get myself out of this? I'm a good talker, but I'm not that good.
Oh my God. Yeah.
We walk out. The next people in line are the casting directors from Friends, like the ones that actually cast Friends. And I'm like, and it was a comedy multi-camera sitcom. And I was like, there we go. We didn't get the job. It was the worst no I could have gotten.
Yeah.
And then it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me.
Yeah. Yep.
Because that no sent me into a tailspin of, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
I can't do this anymore. I can't go through my life hoping and praying that the phone rings, then putting all my energy and effort for something that I loved getting the jobs, but I hated doing the jobs. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I wanted to get the meetings. I wanted to be like, I got the sale,
Yeah. Yeah.
But then you actually have to like produce and like do the thing. And so I told my partner, I was like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. And it was a weird time. Definitely. I also didn't have any other, I thought, skills. And I was spending my days at Pete's Coffee. I'll never forget this, from morning till night, because I had a nanny, assuming I was going to go back to work. I had a 6-month-old at home, and I was, and a 2.5-year-old, I'm at Pete's every day, marketing jobs, advertising jobs, LinkedIn. I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I would come home every day and cry. And then I would go back to the Pete's Coffee the next day. Because I didn't want my nanny to think I was like a loser that didn't leave the house.
Yeah.
And finally, my husband comes to me and he says, Donna, we are in debt. We cannot continue to live this lifestyle with our nanny. We're also paying for school for the older one. Either we let her go, because nannies, how expensive they are. Either we let her go and you stay at home with the kids, or you get a job. Like, we have to do something, right? Like, we have to do something. And I looked at him and I said, please just give me a little bit more time. I feel it in my bones. Something's going to happen. And then I got mono.
That was the thing in your bones.
I know, God. I woke up on Monday on a Monday, the day after the Purim Carnival at school with mono, the worst fever I've ever experienced. And it's a Monday and I like to work out, but I can't work out. I can't leave the house. I am stuck in my feelings, like stuck in it. And I had this moment where I said, like, well, actually, I remember I called my sister, talking about sisters. I have a sister 2 years older than me, besties, right? They know everything. And I call Sharoni and I say, what am I going to do? I'm hysterically crying. I'm so depressed. Like, how am I going to do that? What am I going to do next? And she goes, this is what you need to do. So I'll always attribute this to her. You use your calling card. You use what you know well and what you can do now, and you start and you can figure it out later. Cause I said, I don't want to work with actors anymore. And she goes, this is just to get you going. Like, just take the skills. You can help actors.
Right.
So I started that day, 103-degree fever. I went on Facebook and I said, I have a new business, because I didn't use Instagram for business. I was like, it's Donna Bowling audition coaching. Call me. Like, here's my number. And I got a client that day.
Wow.
And that was the beginning of my new business. So I all of a sudden, and I could talk about this for 17 years about like all the frustrations and struggles.
Yeah.
But I hit 6 figures within 18 months with zero overhead, because I worked from home. I had actors coming into my house. But I didn't know a thing about business. I had no systems. I was getting paid on Venmo. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. People were in my home. I was working from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. I was very good at it and very successful. And then again, of course, I said, but I don't want to work with actors. Like, how do I get out of this?
Right.
Long story short, right before the pandemic hits, I'm in Thailand with my family and I'm walking down the beach with a Singa. It's like the Thai beer. And I'm thinking, like, here we go. I'm coming back home. We're moving to our new house, which is the house I'm in now. And then it's pilot season. And it's the busiest time, right? As a acting coach.
Right.
Okay, I can do this. And I was like, but I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And I have to pull the trigger now and pull out before pilot season starts. Because once it starts, it's over.
Yeah.
And so I came home. We moved into this house. And on January 20th, 2020, I said, I'm going to start working with entrepreneurs to help them use video content and show up on stories and use Instagram. Right. And then in 2020, of course, 2 months later, pandemic hits, the entertainment industry shuts down. I would have had zero business. And meanwhile, everyone and their mother was starting a business from home. And needed me.
I needed to be on camera.
Needed Instagram, at the time there wasn't reels. So it was just stories. That was the only like kind of video content we were doing. TikTok wasn't a thing as big at the beginning of 2020, and it was crazy. It was like the universe said, Donna, you pull out now. Yeah. Because you're going to need to. It was crazy. Yeah.
I was
going to know that lucky girl syndrome.
Yeah.
I am so lucky.
You're very intuitively driven. Like, you're very much, I think you are.
That's what I was going to say.
Everything that you're saying, like, you listen to your gut, you heard the voice in your head, like, maybe you didn't respond to it immediately, but you heard it and you let that live in there. You knew when things were done and when to move on.
Wow, that's so interesting. And you know what? I tell everyone, follow your gut, follow your intuition, but I never trust mine. Because I'm so, are you guys like, I think you're probably like me, like a little, like we overthink everything. We question everything. We second guess everything. And now in hindsight, it does make sense. But at the time I felt like I was lost soul. Right.
Yeah. But the universe had a plan for you and you listened.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't seem like you did. So that being said, I really want to know what you have on tap for the next year or so, because you have.
And what's starting today? What's starting today?
Like, what's happening? Because you have already, in the last just 2 weeks, you have a new podcast. Like you're always doing so many exciting things.
Iterating. You're always iterating. There's always more.
There's like an evolution. I'm like a snake, right? Like I shed my skin and I start over. Well, I think if you're an entrepreneur, which we are, I think there's something inherent in us that cannot stay with like the same. We need a change of routine to feel excited, right? Like that's the way this works. And that's why we do what we do. Yeah. I feel like, if I know for sure I will not be doing what I'm doing right now for the rest of my life. Like for sure, I know, no question. What that is, I don't know. But I was listening to a Mel Robbins podcast and she was talking about manifesting and how she believes the real way to manifest is the first thing is you have to be super clear on what it is. And I was walking my dogs, it was January 6th, and I was walking my dogs and I was like, okay, yeah, super clear. And then I was like, but I'm not super clear of what I want. Like, no, I want success.
Yeah.
And like,
yeah.
I want, like, I don't really, like, I haven't seen it. And then I thought to myself, and this is embarrassing always to say out loud, your biggest dreams, like those scary dreams.
Yeah.
But I was like, I want to show like a podcast show on the Dear Media Network. Now, that was so random, and it is so random, but I put it out there because that is like, to me, that kind of vibe, that kind of energy is what I love to consume. And I feel like there's a place for me there. Now, whatever the universe.
It's so funny. As you're talking, I actually thought of a podcast idea for you, but I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it until we finish, because I don't want to reveal it. I did. I literally wrote it down. Donna, I wrote it down.
Off camera.
I'm gonna tell you off
recording.
I'm gonna tell you after we stop recording. I wrote it down because you said something, and I'm like, that's her next show, and I had no idea that that's what you wanted to do.
Oh my gosh. Well, I can still, so what happened was that day I said, look, I have show up on video, which is something I'm really passionate about. It's my business coaching program. It's what it starts today, my group program, and it's my podcast. But the thing about marketing and business podcasts, there's like
a billion.
There's a lack of personability. Like, what'd you say?
There's a billion of them. There's also a lot of them.
There's a billion of them. And also, like, you listen to video coaching or marketing or email programs like Amy Porterfield type coaching. Like, you listen when you need it, but you're not going to binge it for 7 years. You're not going to, like, the second you don't need it, you're unsubscribing, right?
Sure.
A podcast like this, a Glennon Doyle type podcast, or a Skinny Confidential type podcast, or one of those kinds of, the Toast. I love the Toast, which is the sisters. I don't know if you know about them. Obsessed.
Yeah.
It's conversational. You grow with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think that that's what I needed to focus on in addition, right? So I needed to kind of take my own advice and follow my heart and do like a personal brand podcast. So I started Daily Dose of Donna, which is my daily 10-ish minute kind of rant on whatever it is of the day.
We love that. We love it.
I feel like you're going to have a talk show, and I can't wait.
I was saying this. I was thinking the same thing.
I just feel like, how do you not already have a talk show?
I was thinking the same exact thing. I was thinking the same thing. Yep.
Donna Diamond. Where are you?
No, I was thinking the same thing. 100%.
That's really cool. You know, honestly, we'll see what happens. You know, like I feel like if it's going to happen, it would happen, you know, and it's hard because online, and for anyone listening, you know, for anyone that really wants to kind of grow their personal brand and like build their business, even people like me, like I see so many successful and incredibly talented people every day online, right? On TikTok, on Instagram, on podcasts, on YouTube, whatever. There's no shortage of talent out there. And that is frustrating sometimes for people because we're like, then why us, right? Like, I'm a 41-year-old mom. Like, I have 19,000 followers on Instagram. Like, I am not where these people, like, I'm not Lise Myers, right? Like, we don't have that, but there's a place for everyone.
But you have you have you.
There's
and
a place for
nobody is
everyone,
like you know, nobody is like you. So before we let you go, if somebody's going through a fresh start, especially with a career pivot, what's a quick, you know, some wise words you could impart to them?
I would say, you know, without a doubt, this is easier to say in hindsight because when you're going through it, it really does feel like the entire world depends on these one decision, two decisions, and it feels so overwhelming. But I think actually you guys are helping me with this decision of what advice I would give, which is if it's meant to happen for you, it will happen for you. So maybe you take the long way around. Like, we could take the scenic route or we could take the direct route, but we're getting to our destination. And if you are lost on like where to go, or if it's scary to do, or like, I don't want to step my foot out of this canoe without my foot firmly planted in another, etc., trust in yourself that if you actually give a shit, which you do, probably if you're listening to this podcast and you care about your you know, success, like, you're not going to let yourself fail.
Nope.
It ain't happening. You may fail. You may have a shitty year or a really bad boss or a really bad experience or whatever, but like, you're gonna get to the other side.
Yeah.
And one of my friends, actually, he just told me, he's like, he works for a big tech company, and I was having a frustrating sales day the other day. And he said to me, he goes, you need this experience, because how in the world how are the good days going to feel so good if you don't have the shit days?
Yeah.
So
right?
true. So what was the last best thing that you ate and truly loved?
You guys, this is the hardest question you've ever given someone in your life.
You know
I
what?
know.
It's
I
true
am
for
such
every
a foodie.
podcast guest.
Olivia said, she goes, I tell everybody the question beforehand. She goes, and then when we ask them, they still seem surprised. She goes, do you think it's about people not connecting with their pleasure? I said, no, I'm shocked by the question every time. And I am the co-host of this podcast. I can't remember anything I've ever eaten every time she asks anybody else the question. I'm like, I don't know.
Here's the
Toast.
problem. I eat too many good things. Like I'm such a food person. So I will tell you, part of my personal brand is Nutella. And I really, truly, I'm telling you when I say I eat Nutella on a daily basis, usually every single night after the kids are in bed while watching Real Housewives or Yellowstone. Okay.
I love that.
So I would say.
What is the vehicle for the Nutella? Just a spoon?
It's very serious. Okay. It's very serious. It's not just Nutella. Let me see if I have something. Hold on. I really hope I do.
She's getting an accoutrement here.
She's reaching into a drawer.
This is how much I know Nutella. One of my friends got me an iPhone, like an AirPod case.
Yeah, it's
Nutella.
so cute. It's so cute.
So obsessed with Nutella. So you take a jar of natural peanut butter. It has to be natural. I want it to be drippy. Okay. Then you take a jar of your Nutella. It has to be a personal jar because you're double dipping all of these things. Okay.
Personal jar.
Then I take a little, I freeze my chocolate chips, and they're the Kirkland chocolate chips.
Yes, we
They're so
love
good.
those. The best. They're the best.
They're dairy free randomly.
You don't have to sell me on this, Jenny. Okay. So I take a little bowl. I take my spoon, I take my little bowl, and the Nutella and the peanut butter are already in my room. They live in my room. Okay. No one else is touching them. So then I just kind of go upstairs with my little bowl and my water, whatever, my phone. I lay in bed. I get my covers on. I put on Real Housewives, take Nutella, spoon, peanut butter, Nutella, dip in a chocolate chip.
Chocolate chips.
You guys.
That is a moment of joy. I love that moment of joy for you. That is beautiful.
The best part is when in the morning, my husband's like, what's on the bed? And I'm like, it's not poop. I'll tell you, Nutella.
You should know by now. That's amazing. I love that. I love that that's your nightly ritual too.
I love that. Well, Donna, you are just the best. And we're so happy to talk to you. And anytime you want to come back on and talk, we're always happy to talk about anything, pop culture, everything, and we are so excited to watch you grow and your journey. And
vice versa.
Well, thank you.
We're so excited we connected and we found you.
And I honestly will say, like, just about your guys' podcast, there's very few podcasts that I listen to regularly because I get bored by them, like what I was telling you, like the marketing podcasts and stuff. But I really crave real conversations.
Yeah.
The fact that it's so casual, you guys run a podcast that is so easily we just want to feel connected. We just want to feel like we're not alone. And it's not even about what the person's talking about, because I haven't been able to relate to some of the stories on the show, but I so relate, right?
Yeah.
Like I feel like I'm in just your living room with a glass of wine.
We should say, I don't think we actually said this. We'll probably say it in the bumper too, but we have this podcast because of you.
Right. Yeah.
We had talked about it, but we were very overwhelmed by what it meant to start a podcast. We thought it was going to be big. We talked to you on the phone and you said, or not on the phone, but on Zoom. And you said, just do it. You said, you can edit it yourselves.
It was a life-changing moment. You go, girls, you need to do the podcast.
Yeah.
And we did.
And we ordered all of our gear that night. I was in Scotland. She was here. And I ordered my ring light and we got going and we recorded the next week. We just started. I mean, we just jumped and we were like, we'll figure it out.
It wasn't because of me. It was because I literally was just that final nudge. You guys were ready to do it.
We needed the nudge. You're the nudge.
But I love that. I love that. And this is going to be the vehicle for you guys to get your Fresh Starts has so much growing to do. There's so many people that need to know about Fresh Starts. So I'm so excited for you.
Thank you, Donna.
We're excited.
Thank you for listening to today's story. We're always here and we're proud of you. Until next time, brave one.
A Fresh Story is brought to you by Fresh Starts Registry, the first and only platform for everything you need to start again. You can read the show notes and learn more about today's episode at freshstartsregistry.com/podcast.